we actually want them to also be successful. That's best for everybody. I often say we're more of a collabo-tition. We collaborate on how to be better. We compete. There's competition in what we do. We're always trying to we're in business against each other for sure, but there's also a collaboration in how do we all do it better? Because if ourselves and these other brokerages can all raise our level of professionalism and our game, then that's better for all of us. It reinforces the idea to people that you guys are important.
Yeah.
Right. I can't say that I'm always rooting for the fly by night discount folks out there. I don't want anyone to have, not to have success if they start a business, because it's really hard. But, I think there's a right way to do it. And I want those folks to be successful.
Hey guys, I'm here with my friend Jesse Lehner, who is going to share his journey of becoming one of the top real estate agents and owning one of the top real estate brokerages in Northern Colorado. He's going to get down into the weeds with the tactical things you need to do to be successful. If you are an agent in NoCo or anywhere, you've got to tune in. Check it out. Are you a faith-based father and you want to have the adventure of a lifetime with your son? You have to check out the father-son hike of a lifetime on the Camino de Santiago in Spain. June of 2025, I'm going to be taking a small group of fathers and sons over to Spain. We are going to spend 6 days, hike 70 miles, have some of Spain's most amazing cuisines, see some of the most beautiful places and spaces, but most importantly, spend time together bonding with our sons. If you're interested in this adventure, check out mattshoup.com. When you get to the website, click the Gentle Art of Leadership button and hover down to the father-son hike of a lifetime. Jesse Lehner.
Matt Shoup, thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming out.
This is awesome.
Been trying to, I haven't seen you for a while. We're just so busy.
Yeah, it feels like everyone's busy, doesn't it? I mean, life's busy, but it's good to be here and just have a conversation.
Yeah.
With no agenda. You might have an agenda, but I don't have an agenda.
These just flow.
That's what I like about it.
I don't prepare or plan much. We just have coffee.
Nothing to prepare for. Just be here and chat, have coffee. Love it.
Well, I want to hear about your journey, man. You're here running one of the biggest real estate brokerages in Northern Colorado and obviously starting to make a mark nationally, right?
Yeah. It's been fun.
And 12-12-12 was the day that started. And I didn't really know much about you, know you at all. John and I, who was just on last week, came out. I remember sitting in our kids' assembly at Emmanuel Lutheran Elementary School when they were shutting them down.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I said, "Hey, when are you going to start that business?" He goes, "A couple more months." And then he goes, "They're shutting me down literally." And the kids are up there singing like a Christmas song.
Yeah.
But yeah, take us through the journey. Like, how did you get here, get into real estate, and you're running this brokerage, right?
Right.
While raising an amazing family, being an amazing husband and father. We were just talking offline about all that, what that entails.
Sure.
So yeah, take me back.
Excuse me. You may know, I think you probably do, but a big part of my background and why I share this is because I'm born and raised in Alaska. So, not necessarily from Colorado, and that kind of ties into the story a little bit. Being real estate is a lot about who you know and being around people that you know or know you, and it always helps when you have a big sphere, which obviously I don't have in Colorado, being from Alaska. But had a wonderful upbringing in Alaska. Wouldn't trade it for anything. We still go back often and visit, and I'm sure we'll have a place up there at some point. You should come visit. And
never been.
Yeah, you got to come. It's
cold up there, isn't it? Cold, and you only have 3 hours of sunshine.
And we ride dog sleds to school and all that. Yeah.
Do you?
No. But there's a little, our little town. I mean, a small town, right? I mean, I had maybe 1,500 people in my town, and the school, kindergarten through 12th grade, one school, 180 kids total, from kindergarten all the way through senior year. So small, very small. But there is on one side of this, the gymnasium on the outside, it has got this painted banner that says snowmobile and ATV parking here. And that tripped my wife out, Amy, when she's from Aurora, so quite different when she saw that. I grew up there, and I matriculated down to the States after college and decided Colorado kind of fell on my radar. My folks are actually from Colorado. So my dad grew up in Denver, my mom in Grand Junction, and then met at CSU.
They did, and then moved to Alaska.
They moved to Alaska.
You were born. What brought them to Alaska?
Well, my mom was a teacher, and my father was a biologist. and Alaska needed both. I mean, he ended up being a fish biologist, which is, it couldn't pick a better place to be a fish biologist. He eventually became a commercial fisherman and fished for 30 years there. My mom taught. And, Alaska needed teachers badly at that time. This was the early 70s, and they were up for an adventure. So they packed up and drove to Alaska in 72. So
now, are they still there?
They're not.
Okay.
Yeah, all retired, and they live down in southern Colorado now. But I don't have any ties back to family back to Alaska anymore. But I ended up choosing Fort Collins mostly because I thought I didn't know how great of a place it was. It was just, hey, it's a college town. I was just fresh out of college, wanted to be not in a big city, but kind of picked it, and then it's just been a phenomenal place. So, so flash forward real estate wise, I always wanted to be in real estate. I don't know if you know this, but before I even got into real estate, there was a guy years ago in the area that was running this program where he'd pay for your schooling if you wanted to be a real estate agent, but you had to commit to working with his brokerage for a certain number of years. If you said the name, I'd remember. I don't recall now. He also was in the mortgage business. This was the early 2000s.
Is it Steve?
No, I don't. That doesn't ring a bell.
Not Steve Hayes?
No, not Steve Hayes. Nope.
Because that's who did mine. What's up, Steve? Shout out. I did my school through him.
No.
I don't know. I've heard of it. I don't.
Yeah, I forget the name of it now. Okay. But anyway, I actually went and listened to one of his spiels. And, and at the time I was sitting there thinking, I really want to get into real estate, but I don't know anybody. Mm-hmm. I don't know anybody. And I'm kind of an introvert at heart, which isn't great for building a sphere. And I'm not a very social butterfly all the time. So
John and I talked about that.
Yeah.
Remember that, Joey?
So thought this just isn't the right time. So I always wonder. So I ended up not going through with it. I decided, hey, I don't see myself having any success here with this. I just don't know how it's going to work out. So I'm going to keep my JOB, my just over broke, and keep working.
Which was what?
I was in commercial construction estimating. So my degree's in business, and then I did a lot of construction as a kid growing up. So found a local company here in Loveland that, so I did estimating and off of plans and things of that nature. And then a few years later, I thought, okay, this real estate thing keeps eating at me. And honestly, Matt, I did not really want to be a real estate agent. This might be news. I don't know how much I want to share on this podcast in case anyone else watches this in our real estate brokerage, but that was never my desire. I had only bought one house at the time. This was the early 2000s, 2005, 6, 7. I had purchased one home with a good friend, older guy. Shout out to Jim Sherburne. And he was he's in his 70s and one of those guys that had owned a bunch of multifamily properties and was an investor and he really encouraged me to do it. He said, you really need to get into real estate because I had kind of put it off, forgot about it.
To buy real estate or produce as a producing agent?
Well, he was an agent, but he also was an investor and did really well. And I was really intrigued by that. And really, I knew that real estate, the investment side of it was something that I wanted to do. Didn't know how I was going to do it, but I was intrigued by it. And he said, you should just become a real estate agent. And then that can be the way that you can kind of generate revenue to invest into real estate. And I thought, yeah, but I don't really want to be a real estate agent. And the image that I had of a real estate agent was not good.
What was it? What was it back then? Because I had my stereotypical thoughts of that too.
Probably similar to, I don't know, maybe similar to yours. But, it was like, I don't want to, this was what my mind, drive around in some Cadillac Escalade. You go in, you point out the cabinets, the paint color, and it's this very, like, what kind of value am I actually bringing? And so this idea of what does a real estate agent even do? I mean, they look like they make quite a bit of money, but what value do they actually provide? The barrier to entry is super low, which I had a hard time with. My mom being an educator and, going to college, not that you have to have a college degree to obviously go into real estate. And in fact, that for some people, that's a detriment. They overthink things in real estate sometimes. But was I going to be proud to be a real estate agent? Because that image just did not sit well with me. Jim, he just kept encouraging me to do it. And I said, okay, well, I'll take the classes. And I wanted to take them in person because I'm the kind of guy that I want to ask questions and I want to drill the answers. I've always been that way. Yep. So taking it online and I said, no, if I'm going to do this, I want to learn about it. But I remember the first day going into class and I'm sitting down it was taught here in Loveland, and the instructor was up and I was just looking at and quite frankly, probably judging everybody in that room, thinking, okay, this is who I'm going to be like. This is now my people. And I'm going to be, my profession is going to be what I see in this environment. And it wasn't great. And I thought, I don't know that I can do this because, you can't be a felon and you have to have a GED. And I think besides that, you can get your license and start selling real estate, which is really crazy.
Yeah, that's about it. And that hasn't changed.
That really hasn't changed. And it's odd to me, but it's very little barrier to entry, which is why so many people try to get into it.
But isn't it crazy though, right? So those are the only two requirements. 18, not a felon, pass the test. You could have been a bartender at Old Chicago 2 days prior, get your license, and then a brokerage just throws you out there.
Yeah.
And now you are participating in somebody's biggest investment that touches every other part of their life, their finances, their legacy, and you get to deal with that.
And you're practicing law. To a certain degree, you are practicing law in a very small scope, but you are. These are contractual legal documents that you're filling out. It's very odd to me, but there were two individuals in there, husband and wife. Shout out to Glenn and Jessica, and I saw them, and they just had this look of professionals. In fact, they were. She was a nurse, and Glenn worked with the city, and if it wasn't for them, I don't know if I would have stayed. But I thought, okay, I can connect with them. And I understand I'm probably being pretty judgmental. I don't mean this by any way, but it was a hard thing for me mentally to get over. If this is what I'm going to do as my profession, because in my world of growing up with I thought I'd going to be a dentist. I thought I would do a number of different things, get my MBA, go into business. Yeah. And this was slinging real estate really wasn't my thing. I didn't think. But I loved the idea of real estate and really loved the game of how do I create investments for myself, and how do you play that strategy long term and create generational wealth? Like, how do you do that? Which we might talk about later too. I'm happy to get into that. But anyway, so took the class and ended up passing and decided, okay, I'm going to get right into investment real estate, which was a mistake number one because I have no money. But my thought was,
this is 05?
This is 2008.
8.
Right when the market, so
prices are getting good.
If you had money, it's a great time to be an investor. But I went to work with these guys that they bought at the foreclosure sale. They sought out property. At that time, 40, 50 properties a week were going to the foreclosure sale. It was a bad time.
Remember that.
Yeah.
And they were done with the no income loans, right? No income, no assets. Yep. So you couldn't just go grab as many as you wanted like you could have 4 or 5 years before that.
Right. Yeah. But, I didn't have much I burned through my, trying to get into this business. And so these guys, it was a great experience to learn that process of going to the trustee sales, seeking out the properties, the liens, that whole game of how do you procure a lien, get a lien before, assign it to yourself, go down the trustee sale bid. But what I realized, I didn't make any money. The only people that made any money were the investors that could buy the properties. I might get thrown a little finder's fee here and there, but it's like, okay. So for me to actually make any money in this business, I have to be the guy buying these properties. Well, how do I do that? Well, I guess I'll sell real estate because I have a license.
Yeah.
But if I'm going to do that, I need to be, for myself, mentally, I need to be at the upper echelon of what I would consider. Because once I got in the business, I did run into a number of brokers that were very professional. This was their career, not their hobby. Very educated, but they're that top of the pyramid. There's everybody else, and then there's this group up there that they are really select, add a lot of value. So how do I do that? And had to leave that group because that's not where I was going to find that, right? Ended up getting recruited over to the group, and that was a great environment to start that professional career. How do you sell real estate? And then obviously Ninja Selling and Larry Kendall and
John and I talked about Larry, and he's a legend, man.
Legend.
Thank you, Larry.
Yeah.
For being awesome.
Yeah.
Learned so much from him.
Oh, my goodness.
Been here, he's 40, 50 years here in the game in this area.
Yeah. I can't imagine the number of lives that Larry has touched through his process. It was such a great fit for me because I always had this apprehension to selling you anything. Mm-hmm. Which
was that just the personality style or just how you viewed sales, combination of both? Did you kind of have this story playing about the fancy car driving, fast talking, show me the cabinets, schmoozy realtors? I was the same way.
Same way.
Thing.
Yeah. Well, and that's what it was for me, man. I don't want anyone to feel like I'm selling them anything. Like if you don't want to buy it, fine, don't buy it. I'm not trying to push you over on anything. And it felt at times that's how real estate could be. I felt like we were a half a step above a used car salesman and a step below a attorney. At least with the attorneys, they went through, there's some level of respect for them because they went through, if they're an attorney, they went through a lot of education. That's a hard thing to do. They passed the bar, right? And no disrespect to car salesmen, because I've got some friends that are phenomenal at it, and I think they should be in real estate because they also do really well there.
Come on over.
I've been, one of them. You know who you are.
Are you recruiting? You give a shout out, whoever that is.
I'm trying. Well, I don't want to get him in trouble with his current line of work, but he'd be phenomenal.
But I mean, how many used car salesmen, right? That's the stereotype, but it's also true because Emily and I just experienced 2 awful ones, 2 for 2 of just schmucks and knuckleheads. Come on.
Yeah.
Really? Like they still do.
So
it is what it is. Like that's the truth about a lot of it.
Well, and what sat so well with me or resonated so well with how Larry in the Ninja Selling process, shout out to Ninja Selling, was it's all about attraction, not pursuing. And how do you create enough value that people want you to help them? It's not you trying to approach them and, trying to get them to work with you. It's they seek you out. And that, so I remember one time Larry did describe his course one time is it's a sales course on how not to sell. And I thought that's a great way of putting it, right? Because it's really not. It's that Socratic method of selling. It's the asking questions. It's providing value, those type of things. Yeah. So I always give credit. John and I always try to give credit to our days at the group because we truly believe that was the foundation for us, and we carry forward now with Ninja Selling into our company at C3, and that's a big part of. We believe that's how you do it the right way. And if you do it the right way, there's you do bring a ton of value. But it's taken me a long time mentally to get over that hurdle. How about you?
I had experience with 2 realtors. So the first property that I bought was right out of college. I didn't realize how the realtor represented the seller when I called the sign on the listing.
Oh yeah.
She double-sided it. I didn't know. She didn't really explain anything. And maybe she did, and I just didn't understand. I was so excited about buying a house, but there was no stop to pause to say, hey, because I told her I was looking at some single family. I found a condo. Mm-hmm. Would have been way better off buying a single family. If you ran those 2 properties out from the time I bought to the time I sold, we would have hands down. Yeah. Didn't give me any of that advice. Just got the deal done, But that's what I wanted. Didn't slow me down. It's like, you got to stop people that are moving too fast in real estate, and a not great agent, just a basic agent, will just let the deal happen and just let somebody get into something they don't even realize. And that's what happens. So that's where I go, hey, I'm frustrated about that. Right. And then I worked with Ryan Spencer for a long time. So Ryan and I went to high school. I was briefly in mortgage, and I met him when I was in the mortgage business. So then, when we started buying our homes and investments, he was my realtor, and just watched to that and watched him. He built a great business, great guy. Mm-hmm. But then other than that, you would just run into on these deals. I remember doing deals with Ryan, agents on the other side, just amateurs, or totally focused on, the 3% money goggles. I remember one, it was crazy when we sold our house in Loveland and we were moving out to Windsor. The way that agent treated my wife was pretty awful. It was just crazy. I go, how can you even call yourself a professional after what you just said and did? It was wild. Yeah. So it's a mixed bag.
It is. And which is one of the reasons why I kind of like some of these new rules that are coming into place, because there's more friction now to do a deal. You have to elevate your professional game a little bit in order to be successful in this new environment. And I like those. I like additional hurdles, because I think that's helpful for our industry in general. If you believe in the industry and you believe in the longevity and of it and the importance of an individual being involved in a transaction, then you actually welcome some of these changes to a degree, meaning, okay, in order for me to have success in this new environment, I'm going to have to change and up my game.
Yes.
And ultimately, a lot of that's better for the client at the end of the day, the consumer. And that's what we want. If you think about it, that's what everyone should want. Yeah. Although, not everyone wants that. Again, you mentioned the 3% goggles, or just the man, that's a lot of money. And that's the other thing I try to always remember is, it doesn't matter if it's a $200,000 or $150,000 condo or a $2 million house. it doesn't matter the amount of commission that someone's paying. To them, it's an awful lot of money. Yep. The person who's selling the $180,000 condo, to them, let's just call it, whatever the dollar amount is. That dollar amount to them, if it's roughly $6,000, might actually be more impactful to them financially than the person selling the $2 million house and paying $60,000.
Yeah.
If you think about it. Now, the dollar amounts are totally different, but the impact to them on where they are, perhaps with their finances, or what that $6,000 would mean to them, I would argue probably matters more than the person selling the $2 million house. And I think often we as real estate agents get jaded by the amount of money that is being transacted sometimes, not realizing that, oh my gosh, one transaction at $2 million is more than a teacher might make in an entire year.
Yes.
That's wild. And a person can earn that by going through a few weeks of classes and getting out and getting their license. So it's a very interesting industry, and it's hard sometimes not hard, but I want to always remind our agents and remind ourselves that what we're doing is important, and what you charge, you are worth it in my opinion, but you better deliver the goods.
Yeah, but you better back it up.
You better back it up. If you're not worth that, then don't charge that. If you want to run a business that can't justify what you're charging, that will only last for so long because the word will get out. You'll
get found.
The reputation, right?
And now you have more and more conversations, and people, or maybe it's just same people louder screaming, is that they're saying that you don't deserve that, and you don't earn that, and you're not worth that. And people can do that without you. So it's like, how do you continue to up your game now that the laws have changed?
That's right.
And these voices are getting louder. And then you have AI and technology and all this stuff. And Amazon's talking about getting into real estate. Yeah. So it's like, how does that become timelessly valuable no matter how technology and things change? And I mean, at least for me, you get a person that loves you, cares about you, is representing you, is going to go to bat for you. No computer is going to beat that out. Right. Yeah. There's some advantage to being able to do things more efficiently, smoothly. But you're not going to, there's that human connection and representation. I don't think that ever goes away. Is the paint or roof on your home or business starting to look a little shabby? If so, reach out to one of our sponsors, M&D Painting and Roofing. M&D Painting and Roofing is a full-service residential and commercial painting and roofing contractor in Northern Colorado. And full disclosure, I'm the M in M&D. Check them out at mdepainting.com. Are you a small business trying to navigate all of the landscape of digital marketing and don't know where to go? Reach out to one of our sponsors, Imprint Digital. They are the go-to source for all things digital marketing. They are the producers of this podcast, and they run all of the marketing for all of my companies. Check them out at imprint-digital.com.
They're trying, and they're probably going to continue to try. I mean, there's a lot of companies, you mentioned many of them, and AI and tech, but they're going after. They see the commission as something that they can go after. And so we are, and our industry is being attacked from many different angles when it comes to that. But the blessing in that for folks like you and I and our brokerage, our agents, we believe we have really good agents, is that they're going to find ways to up their game. They're going to find ways to say, you're challenging what we do. Okay, great. Let's do it better. Let's find ways that we can add the amount of value that we're asking to be paid. Right. Yes. And so if this wouldn't have come about, would all of us be doing that? Or we just be doing it the old way and thinking, so I think there are, again, I'm not looking forward. None of us want to be in an industry where other disruptors are coming in and trying to take down the way you generate income for your family, or your business. But at the same time, I think the cream will rise to the top, and the good brokerages and the good agents, I think there's always going to be a place for you, but you have to elevate what you do.
And just think back, 4-5 years when money was almost free and things were appreciating on the daily, it seemed like, right? And everybody was just making a killing on their home. They made $100,000 in equity if you owned a home 8 years ago, 9 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. They made $100,000 in equity. Money's at 3%. People are fighting over this house, ridiculous offers. They're doing the move up. How many people even cared, consumer-wise, homeowner-wise, buyer or seller, to ask those important questions to the realtor about how they didn't even think about the 3%. They just made $100 and some odd $1,000. At least my clients weren't really thinking about it. So I like that those questions, now that things are tightening and constricting, they're asking the questions that we should be able to answer at any point in our business as agents.
Yeah. And again,
and if you can't, you shouldn't be an agent, or don't expect,
And you're going to see that. You're going to, you're going to see people exit the business, and you're going to see brokerages exit the business. And maybe that's not a bad thing for the industry overall. Again, we've always said we want to see every good brokerage, every professional brokerage, every professional agent have success. We actually don't like it when any of our competitors in our market are struggling if they're like competitors to us, which we would consider ourselves a professional brokerage. We don't want to see them. We actually want them to also be successful. That's best for everybody. I often say we're more of a collabo-tition. We collaborate on how to be better. We compete. There's competition in what we do. We're always trying to we're in business against each other for sure, but there's also a collaboration in how do we all do it better? Because if ourselves and these other brokerages can all raise our level of professionalism and our game, then that's better for all of us. It reinforces the idea to people that you guys are important.
Yeah.
Right. I can't say that I'm always rooting for the fly by night discount folks out there. I don't want anyone to have, not to have success if they start a business, because that's really hard. But, I think there's a right way to do it. And I want those folks to be successful.
It's interesting to see. I was talking with a client 9 months ago, maybe a year. And they're like, we think we're just going to go with that discount agent. I'm like, awesome. You're going to save X, but here's everything they're not going to do. And you're going to get to do. They're like, that's fine, because X is a lot of money. Okay, cool. Let me know how I can help. I'll be here. Yeah. Just let me know how I can help. I can't technically reach out to you to talk to you about this while you're listed, but just let me know how it goes. Just promise me that. We'll let you know how it goes. About 3 months in, hey man, let's do this. Yeah. So you gotta let people.
You gotta let people try. Sometimes
experience that. That's right. There's a lot of ways to do things, and that might work for some.
Well, there are times where that might be the right option.
Yep.
I'm not saying it's always bad, and sometimes that's the way they need to go. But even they're still within that realm of the discounting or the flat fee or whatever it might be. I still think there's the right way to operate as a professional, and some do and some don't. So, yeah.
So new agents, right? You're a new agent going into 2025. So somebody right now is tuning into this. It's the holidays. They're going to get their license, come into 2025, become a real estate agent. Mm-hmm. What would be the top 3 tips that you'd give them?
I tell them not to.
Would you really?
No.
Is it getting in and being successful at the worst time, the best time?
Yeah. Good. I was going to, that's perfect. You almost took it out of my mouth, but I would not, for most folks, I would say not to. For most people, I would say now's not a great time. And this is coming from a guy who entered in 2008. So similar, although I would say I almost feel like the market today is more challenging than when I entered in 2008 for new agents. And the reason being, we actually have fewer number of transactions closing today than we did during 2008, 2009, 2010. So the Great Recession. And as a new agent, you typically work primarily with, what do you think, buyers or sellers? As a brand new agent.
Oh, brand new buyers. Right? Yeah. Your floor open
that's
house.
Right. Most of the cold leads you get through the internet, you pick up a floor call, whatever. It's going to be typically a buyer. You haven't earned the reputation yet to be sought out to be a listing agent and be hired to be. So most of the time you're working with buyers. Buyers are hard to come by today because of the dynamics in our market with the interest rates, with the affordability, and all those issues that we all know about. So it's really hard for a brand new agent today to get some traction. Unless they have if they have a big sphere, they've grown up here, they've got 500 people in their database because they're 4th generation Lovelinites, you're going to get a number of transactions just because of that, right? But if you don't come from that, it's going to be very challenging for you to get going in the business. Mm-hmm. Now, that can be a great thing. In fact, it can be. I have a belief that in order for people to be successful in this business or many other businesses, there's something about having to go through some really challenging struggles, some struggles along the way, right? Kind of earning your stripes. Most of the people that I know that are successful in the business today, if I think of the top producers, very, very few, if any of them, are actually given the business, meaning my dad was a real estate agent or my mom was a real estate agent, and they just passed their book of business on to me. My mom was a developer, my father was a developer, and I just got plugged in and were given all these listings because he built houses or whatever it might be. Most of the people that I know that have built a great business have all started, look at John as an example, myself. I can name a lot of agents. Most of them started with nothing. And they had to find a way to create the business. And there's something about going through that intestinal fortitude, the grit, whatever you want to call it, where they've had to figure out a way to make it. And what happens in that process, which is why at our company, we don't give a lot of leads away. We're not we tell people all the time, we're not a lead.
You're not a huge lead gen.
We're not a lead gen.
Yeah.
No.
You're not buying leads or
absolutely
doing
not.
any of that stuff. Yeah.
And some of them won't come to us because of that. They want to go somewhere where someone's going to give them the business. And if they really thought long-term and could think about it, if you are relying on somebody else or something else, some tech, whatever it might be, to give you the business, you're not learning how to generate it yourself. And times are going to change. That technology is going to go away. They're going to change their platform. It's going to cost a lot more money. Look at Zillow. Every time it changed many times over the years, right? But if that's what you're relying on, or a brokerage to give you leads, and then that brokerage goes away, or they stop giving leads, and now all of a sudden, where's your business? But you have to, if you go through that process of struggle, and you can afford to do it, and this is why going back to not everybody I'd recommend, because it's really hard to do that, Matt, in this time, unless you have an awful lot of time and the ability to commit to it. And that was my process when I got in. I was lucky enough to not have a family. And I was married at the time, early to Amy. And I remember coming to her and saying, hey, I want to do this. It's going to require that I'm going to work every weekend. We're not going to take a vacation for 2 years minimum. I'm going to blow through probably all of our savings. Are you okay with that? And she said, yeah. I'm good with that. Well, we didn't have much to, we didn't have much to give up. I mean, we didn't have kids. We had very low bills. I had the ability to do that. That's not fair to ask most folks today to do that. If they're if they have a family, a single mom, a single parent, not just mom, but to say, can you commit this level, this amount of time? And I mean, I'm going to be the first one there, the last one to leave, kind of a situation. And, because that's what it took for me. And I think that's kind of what it would take today. So if that's not the position that you're in, I think it's going to be hard for you right now to jump into the business, unless there's some of those outliers that I was referring to, right? Yep. And I'm not saying my way was the only way, but what you do know is the more time you can commit to it and the more effort you can put into it, you just raise your chances of being successful.
And I tell everybody, just plan. They get excited. I see they come to me, hey, I'm going to get into real estate. Or they saw a big deal that you did or whatever. Well, cool. What's your advice? Plan to make no money for 2 years and just work your ass off every day. And you see them go, what?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me show you my numbers from the first year.
That's right.
Did this many deals, invested all this in the marketing and getting going and building the foundation, made $0.
Yeah.
Netted $0 on the P&L.
Yep.
What? I thought you make 3%. No.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
So and the less you have, somebody that's single, doesn't have a lot, they've got a small financial nut to crack every month, right? That's the best opportunity to do it. There's not as much on the line. It's easier to do it now. Yeah. So when we started M&E, 05, it was just me and Emily in a condo. We needed like $3,000 a month. Like, okay, we can do this. Yeah. But yeah, it's different now.
It's different now. And that's, now being a parent, and having more responsibilities, it becomes tougher. So I'm pretty honest with people, because I feel like they deserve to know that up front. This is the way, today, for you to be successful in this business, if there's a level of commitment it's going to take, and can you commit to that? Yeah. And for many people, they enter the business and they have a plan B. And when I first got in the business, I went down and met with a commercial brokerage called Marcus and Millichap. I really thought I wanted to do commercial real estate, was really my passion. Being a business background, I love P&Ls. still do spreadsheets and balance sheets and, cap rates and, you name it. Return on investment, all those things were I thought, okay, so investment real estate, I'll go into commercial real estate. At the time, Matt, nobody would hire me. And I finally asked, well, why aren't you hiring me? And he said, well, because we see promise in you. I'm like, well, that doesn't make any sense. He said, well, are you bringing any, accounts with you? Like people I know, or like Pepsi Cola, or, what? Yeah. No. He said, yeah. So we don't want to hire you because you're gonna go out there and create business by taking from us. This is a brokerage owner of a well-known brokerage, commercial brokerage locally.
Is that the mindset in commercial more so, or just
at the time it was brutal in commercial.
Okay,
and so they didn't want to give anyone a shot that they saw actually can go out and make it happen. Yeah. So it's kind of is that a compliment? I didn't really understand, but I went down and finally met with this group in Denver, Marcus and Millichap. And I walked in, it was the classic, downtown, you go like the 17th floor, 20th floor, and the elevator opens and there's just like paperwork flying. I think Wolf of Wall Street did it. It's making calls. And like, oh my gosh, I don't know. Well, I was going to go meet with, the managing broker in the corner of his corner penthouse, And I remember him asking me, he asked me, do you have a plan B? I said, no, I don't. What do you mean by plan B? He's like, well, if this doesn't work out, you have something else you're going to go do. I said, no, I don't have a plan B. He said, okay, well, we'd hire you. I said, that's it. He said, yeah, if you have a plan, well, we won't hire anyone who has a plan B. And I said,
yes, because they're not going to fully commit. They're not going to jump all the way in. They'll be 1 foot in.
That's right.
2 feet out.
That's right. You get to 6 months where you're working 50, 60, 70 hours a week. You haven't had $1 come in. Plan B's on your shoulder chirping at you. And you shush it away a few times because you're eager. And then all of a sudden plan B gets a little louder. But before you know it, your plan B's your plan A. Mm-hmm. And that's when he brought up I'm sure the story of the Viking warriors. They would, travel over and to go conquer England and whatnot. And, they would bring their ships and they'd spend years building these ships and they'd land and then the leaders would make them burn the ships and send them out.
Burn the boats.
Right. There's no retreat. Yeah. And he told me that story. I'm like, God, this real estate thing's going to be intense. But it's true. We see so many people in our business that get really close to having success and then they quit. Right. So, anyway, I think, that was an important part of, I did not work for them, but it was a great lesson that he taught me about the plan B concept. And, if you're going to do this, you got to be all in.
And I love those tips. And those are great pieces of advice for somebody that's about to make the commitment, right? So they go through all that. They go, okay, we're going to do it. And then we're going to start it. Your brokerage, any brokerage, right? Okay. Day one, what would you say top 2 to 3 things they can focus on once they get in the business to be successful? Keeping that 2-year mindset, getting down there.
Yeah. Well, I think you have to figure out what level of commitment you can give the business as far as your time. And there are so many things that you can be doing in your business, even when you don't have any business. And, I never felt like I was ever, not working or slow, even when I had 0 deals going on, because I realized every week, these are the things I needed to accomplish, or books I need to read, or people I need to go meet with, and high producing agents that I wanted to take to coffee, or, I'd go set up a bunch of showings on a neighborhood just to practice opening doors and looking at houses and then learning the market. My theory was the more time I can spend educating myself about this business, then the less I look like a rookie when someone asks me questions.
Yes.
And they don't I was pretty young too. I was always afraid that they're going to look, well, how long have you been selling real estate? You look like you're 12. Well, you avoid that by the way you speak and your knowledge about the market. Well, knowledge from the market can come from just waiting for time over time for you to gather market knowledge by finally getting a buyer in this particular neighborhood, and then you work with them, and then finally listing a house. Yep. Or you can say, I don't have a buyer for this yet, but I'm going to go look at every neighborhood in Fort Collins from $400,000 to $500,000. Go take 2 listings in each neighborhood and go see how Blackbird Knolls compares to Boise Village and Anderson Farms, and I'm going to go over So then when you get the floor call that comes in, they ask about a property, you can say, maybe I just walked it yesterday. I know everything about that property. And you speak as if you're the expert, even though I haven't sold a dang house yet. Yeah. Well, that quickly changes their perception of you. So number one is I would pour into education and market knowledge immediately. And I would help you pick, take your day and figure out where you're gonna be working much more on your business when you're brand new than in your business.
If you're a Christian small business owner, you have to check out one of our sponsors, the Foundry Advisory. They are a Christian peer advisory community here in Northern Colorado and the Front Range that is designed to give you encouragement, support, and insight to grow your business with other like-minded Christian business owners. Not only are they a sponsor and a partner of this podcast, but I'm also a member of their community. Check them out at thefoundryadvisory.com. If you've got junk in your life or business that you need removed, reach out to one of our sponsors, Hulk Addicts. They are a full-service junk removal company, and they'll be able to take care of you at your home or your business to get rid of whatever you don't want. Check them out at hulkaddictsjunk.com. Yeah.
And that's the concept of, you don't have anybody to go work in the business, would be showing houses, writing contracts, and you're brand new. You don't have that. So how do you build your business, right? So building your business, laying out having a plan for your day-to-day, your week of how you're going to do that. Because I see a lot of agents get in the business, they just come into an office and they sit and they don't know what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, there's so much.
There's almost so much so you do nothing.
You do not. Yeah.
Yes.
There's that overwhelm. Yeah. You take Ninja, you go to Ninja installation and you're like, oh my gosh, where do I start? And I had that feeling and I just made a list, okay, buyer's guide, seller's guide, wow packet. I need to create my resume and I just one thing a week. I got to do this. I'm not going to finish this week until I knock that out, whatever that takes. And that creates emails. I got to get some new headshots. I got to get a family bio. Okay. And then who do you meet with? What are you going to listen to?
But you only take the headshot your first year and then you never change it, right? Isn't that how it goes?
That's how it goes.
Like, that's not you.
Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah. Some of those are like, whoa. But yeah, I get jazzed up about that early part of the business because it's where you set that foundation. It also teaches me, are these folks committed? Do they have what it takes to make it in this business? So the working on your business and and other important thing is people have to know that this is what you do. You're no longer, Matt, the painting contractor, business guru. You're Matt, the real estate professional. Yeah. So how do you reframe that in all their minds? You can't assume that they just know because you got your license and you announced it on Facebook.
Yes.
Right. So you have to rebrand yourself. And we show people how to do that with some systems at C3, but
I found there was so much. I remember getting into it and did Ninja pretty early on, but even, you guys have that Wheel of Fortune. Like, here's all the ways that all the activities you can do to let people know. Like, that's so many. Yeah. So I'm just like, pick one. I thought back to M&E days. I knocked on doors for 2-3 years. That's all I did. So I said, okay, I'm going to let everybody know. I'm going to call them. I'm going to take them to coffee or lunch, do a real estate review.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I had other realtors calling me. I have one in particular. She called me. She's like, how dare you take my friend to lunch and do a real estate review? Yeah. She's my client. Like, hey, I know that. This is just, I'm practicing.
Yeah.
It's cool. But I mean, that's all I did. So just one thing. So I think it can be overwhelming. There's so many things to do. You do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I'm a big believer in do one thing until you start to see results, and don't expect them right away. But once you see that, then you can measure what you can do. And that really helped me. And then the other thing that I don't know if this gets you, well, maybe you're coming from a different perspective. So I'm here, I'm already 10, 12 years in business. I have all these relationships here. People know me as Matt, the M&E guy, the business guy, all of the things I do here in the community. They trusted me in all of these different aspects, teaching jiu-jitsu, teaching their kids jiu-jitsu. Okay, real estate's in the mix now. I mean, they trusted me. I painted their house. I taught their kid jiu-jitsu. Like this, they've got to hire me to do real estate, and then they don't.
Yeah. Oh, it hurts.
Was that? Yeah. Did you get that? Because and that took about 3 years. And I go, how did this person not use me on this deal?
Well, I remember specifically when I was first in the business, and one of our closest friends. She was in our wedding, and her husband, we became really close, and they were going to buy a house, and they chose not to use me. And I remember talking to my wife, like, what? I mean, these are the type of people that I should be able to bank on of anybody. Like it's my mom and then these guys, right? I mean, why would they not use me? And to his credit, he pulled me aside and said, hey, I want to let you know we're going to use somebody else because I value our friendship more than anything. And I don't know, I never bought a house before, but I'm just not sure if I can, the friendship in business, I don't want to cross that boundary. Yeah. And I couldn't argue with him. I didn't argue with him. It hurt because I thought these are the type of transactions that should be, in the bank every year, really good friends.
Should be able to count on these.
Yes.
Yeah.
But now you're in the business for a while and you can see how that can sometimes be tricky. And how do you separate the business and the friendship and I'm sure in painting it's the same way. And, because if something goes awry and you paint a baby, You might have
I'm
to.
glad that person wasn't a friend. Well, maybe that would have been different, but yeah,
Yeah.
that was a complete stranger that happened with.
But if that happened to a friend, but yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. That those can be.
But that just hurt. It like hurts at the beginning, and you can't figure it out. But I feel like if you're in that position and you're new, for me, it was about 3 to 3.5 years in, I started seeing a change in that landscape where now they've seen me do it enough.
Yep.
And then that's fine. Like your really, really good friend that didn't use you 2 years in, but think about all the people that did, that just didn't know you at all and trusted you. So it's easy to get tied up on that one loss or deal that you don't get. So
I mean, we're all human. I'm no different. You know, I mean, it doesn't even, even today, if I see a house that I help someone buy, then it's listed with somebody else, it's like, it's almost a little bit of a rejection. What do you mean you didn't want to use me? Didn't I do a great job? But yeah, it's an interesting business, but it's fun. So
I have a final question. I was thinking about this and I didn't ask John on the podcast, but we're talking about all of these, like the legends in town that were just a part of your journey that contributed to you, that made you who you are. Larry Kendall's one of them. Same for me. Who would you say are the top just 2 to 3 legendary agents that were impactful in your journey here that you would think that you would give a shout out to? And I'll start with mine.
Okay.
So we moved here from New Jersey when I was 10. And we get settled into the house and met Tammy Spalding, right? So Tammy Spalding, if you're out there, Tammy, find the photo and send it to me. Has a photo of me in like a Bart Simpson cut off tank top, like with my buck teeth, at her Sylvandale Ranch or wherever she was having her real estate parties, like back in the 90s. I've known her since we moved here, like 35 years. When I got into the business, she's like, man, come sit down. I'll tell you what I do, show you how I do it. Like total open book. Like we might compete against each other, but it was this total generous appreciation, totally opened the book. She probably kept some of her secrets, a few, right? But that was cool. And just so appreciate her for that. But like, who are those people for you in the journey?
Well, there's been a handful, and mostly I reached out to a lot of people. I mean, Craig Howe was one. I mean, they all taught me different things. Craig Howe taught me about just the importance of showing up. I remember asking him, what advice would he give me? And one of the things he said was, well, you gotta show up early. And I said, well, what do you mean? He goes, go to every one of our offices. This is the group. Get there early and look at the first 4 or 5 cars that show up every day. So I guarantee you, if you take their combined GCI, it'll be over half of what the entire office does, just those first 4 or 5. And I said, okay. So I did that. I mean, if you told me to do it, I'd do it. I mean, I did that. Sure enough, Tammy Spalding, Dave Trujillo, John Simmons, here they come, and it was like clockwork. And again, one of my goals when I was first brand new was I'm going to be the first one there and the last one to leave every day. Yep. So I started showing up. This is at the Centera office, and I'd get there at 7. Dad, there's 2 cars. Okay. Next morning, 6:30, there's 1 car there. 6 o'clock, the next car there. 5:30, freaking car there. 5.
Was that the cleaner?
There was a car. I finally walk in. This is one of the people that have Dave Trujillo. Shout out to Dave Trujillo. And I walk into Dave's office, and it's like 5:30 in the morning, and I'm like, Dave, I cannot get here any earlier. When do you show up, for the love? And he's laughing. And if you've ever met Dave, he's a great guy. Yeah. And he was a big help to me. And he said, he got there like at 4:30 or 5. I said, well, why did you get here so early? He's like, Jesse, do you see anyone else in the office? I'm like, no. He's like, it's quiet. No one, my phones don't ring.
On your door,
no clients calling me. I don't have to fight anybody at the copy machine. I said, I come in, I get my work done, I'm out. I can come from 5 until 9. Oh, 4 hours of work done before anyone else shows up, right? So Craig, Dave Trujillo, and yes, Tammy Spalding. Tammy Spalding was one that I had to bring her flowers in order for her to meet with me. But she was remember that?
Yes. Yeah. No, I did have to bring Tammy. That's what it was. That was the only thing.
Yeah, that's all she was doing.
But
that. She was an open book, and she shared. And what I discovered was, I asked some other people, and they said no. And I think part of it was, again, they saw some promise, and there was that scarcity mindset of, well, we don't want to give you our secrets because we don't, right? Yeah. What I learned is, if they say no, you don't want to meet with them anyway. So they may appear that they're successful and they're very good, and in real estate as an example, but it may be that's all that you see as an appearance of their success. If they truly are successful, the folks that are truly good, they have zero concern that a Matt Shoup or Jesse Lehner or John, that we're going to come in and take their business. They will always find time to meet with you.
And then if they do, it would be like, good for you. You did a better job than I did. And then that reflects back to you. Yeah,
it does. I mean, the one time I remember I competed against Tammy. She probably won't even remember this, but I ended up getting the listing. And really the only reason why I think I got it was not because of my knowledge base. Tammy knew a whole lot more in her experience. She was a way better real estate agent. Yeah. But I remember Larry taught that you would bring over a booklet early and leave it before your appointment. And you always want to be first. And to meet with, if there's going to be competing interviewing on a listing. And they liked me. And they liked that I brought over the booklet early. And so they just decided to hire me and not go through with the other interviews. So I can't really say I interviewed against her because I don't think they gave her a shot, but she was supposed to interview.
Since she would have smoked you though.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh,
she interviewed?
She probably would. Probably. She's a legend. So she called me and she just said, hey, congratulations on that listing. That's going to be awesome. That's a great listing. Kudos to you. Versus the other way. And I thought, geez.
That's my friend.
Yeah.
That's my friend.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. The opposite of that, right?
Yeah.
And I thought that's how I want to be. I mean, so yeah, she's a legend, but I think, and John too. I mean, John and I did a lot from the very beginning but John Simmons, but he knows, we spent a lot of time. So yeah.
Well, man, thanks for coming out and sharing all this knowledge, all this wisdom. I really hope this helps the C3 agents and just any agent anywhere listening to this.
Well, this has been fun. I really appreciate you having me on.
Glad I got you out here.
Yeah.
So you're not as introverted as you thought,
I'm not as introverted as I thought, but I really enjoy this. See, the one-on-one I enjoy. It's like if you guys want to go to a big shindig and have a big old party, Halloween party, probably not my thing. Having you and Emily over just to hang out and have coffee, that's my thing.
Do you like getting up? So I know when you have the big events, John loves the crowd. Do you because you're coming to the public speaking workshop that we're doing in December. Yeah. So that's not you don't like that part of it as much.
No, I've never enjoyed it. Yeah. I've never enjoyed it.
But you do great at it though when you're up.
Thanks, man. Yeah. People, but it's something that I do. The agents deserve it. John deserves it. And you got to do things that are sometimes outside your comfort zone. It's nothing that I look forward to, really. It's truthfully. And I have to think about it, and I have to plan it, and that's just like test taking. I can take tests, but it didn't come to me easy. I had to study for it. So
I just prefer not to. And it's okay.
Yeah.
I appreciate that you do it though.
Thanks.
Well, hey, we wrap every show up the same way. You wrote down on your favorite color or one of your favorite colors, the statement you want to leave with the world when you leave it. What is it?
Well, I had a couple of things that I was going to write down, and I ended up, settling on this one. But let me go through the first two. The other ones that I didn't write down, and the first one, which was really close. My mom had a great way of approaching things, and growing up in Alaska, there's always times where things didn't go quite as planned. Just the environment we grew up in and things breaking down. But her philosophy was always, hey, and she always tell me this. Because I'm a planner, right? Goal setter. She's like, Jesse, if everything went according to plan, you'd never have any stories. And I'm like, well, you're right. I mean, if you think about it, what's really important about our life are the stories that we tell. I mean, think about your trips to Spain and things you do with your kids and what you're going to remember later in life when you're on your so-called deathbed. It's the memories that you've created and the stories from your life. And you talk about that, Yeah.
And the best ones are...
They almost always come.
I'm thinking of them. Yeah.
Yes. And then how you got out of it or what you did. And so, I mean, she just had that way of, she'd call me, 3:00 in the morning. She'd fly back to Anchorage. She was gone for a week. Her car was all snowed in because they don't plow anything, And so hey, I got the truck, put it in 4-wheel drive. I had to take a shovel out. I dug for an hour and a half and I got the truck out and I'm on my way home. Versus you come home and, the truck is covered in snow. What am I going to, she just always had that. So that was close. But I think that's a great way to approach the other one. And can I swear on this podcast? Is that all right?
Joey, can Jesse swear on this podcast?
Do
it. All right. So are you familiar with Jeremy Rayner? He's an actor. He was like in, what are all the,
He was in all the Avenger movies.
Avenger movies,
He was
yes.
the guy that shot the bow and arrow. He got ran
Yes.
over by a snowplow.
That's it.
There we go.
Okay. So I heard him talking about that incident where he got ran over by that snowplow. He was helping Lake Tahoe. He's trying to help someone get unstuck. He jumped out of a snow cat, actually, and the thing ran him over, almost killed him. And when he was telling the story, they were asking, well, what kept you going? Like, what was going through your head? And he goes, I was just thinking, not today, motherfucker.
Yeah.
And I think about that a lot when I'm working out, when things are tough, when you want to give up, like I can't do one more push-up. I'm like, not today, motherfucker. Like if I ever got in a situation where, you're adventuring with your kids, your family, and something happens and you got to fight through, it's just like, he just said, not today, motherfucker. So I'm going to make you a shirt that says, not today, motherfucker.
Can you come teach that in our kids' jiu-jitsu class? Can you come be one of our guest speakers?
That'd be great.
We're now explicit, Joey. Mark it.
Yeah.
Timestamp it.
So, it's funny where it comes from, but it was like that to me, it's something I think about, when we do CrossFit, but I want to give up. I'm like, not today.
But think about that. Things get hard. All the stories start playing, voices start coming, and just that interruption right there with that statement. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that.
Love it. Simple. But the one I put down comes from a Navy SEAL, and now he teaches a SEAL Fit. You ever heard of SEAL Fit? His name is Mark Devine.
No.
Mark came up with a program that people that want to get into the Navy SEALs and they want to go through BUDS, it's training them to get into Hell Week and how to increase their success level of making it through Hell Week. And so you can go train with Mark for a while and he kind of prepares you. One of the things he teaches you is because obviously it's got a high attrition rate, right? I mean, the success rate of getting through Hell Week is low. One of the things he says to his students is you can quit, but you can't quit in the dark. What he knows is that the vast majority of people that quit in Hell Week ring the bell at night in the dark.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. And the concept is if you can just make it through, if you promise me you won't quit in the dark, what he knows is as soon as that sun starts to come up in San Diego, a little bit of light comes, your mental energy shifts. You start to feel the warmth from the sun. It's not quite as bad as you thought. You start to warm up a little bit. You're not shivering. You're like, okay, I can make it one more day. So you make it the next day, and then that night comes the next night, and it's like, oh my God, and then I promised Mark, I can't quit in the dark. And then the next day comes, here comes that light. And the Navy SEALs have a rule. It's called the 40% rule. And it's when you think you're done, you're really only out about 40% of what you can give. Yeah. And I think about this because there's a lot of times where we have, whether it's businesses or relationships or whatever it might be, and when you want to quit, often is at those lows, those depths, right? And you're like, okay, I just got to promise myself. It's not that I can't quit, right? If you come the next day, you wake up, or that sun comes up as you're in the SEALs and you're in that Hell Week, and you decide still it's what you want to do, you need to do, fine. But don't do it when you're in the dark.
Yeah.
And I think that's helpful for me in a lot of ways, and I just think about that a lot. And shout out to my, growing up in a small town in Alaska, and my best friend still today, kid that went on to be a Navy SEAL and was an officer and went right into the Naval Academy, became an officer, and then became an officer in SEAL Team 6. And he is a stud. If I can ever get him here, he's now retired in Fiji.
Let's do it. Let's get him over.
He is
on the show.
Phenomenal. But so I have a lot of respect, and I always want to. The SEALs are just that group that I just think are, they're unbelievable, right? So, But anyway, I think that's important. So that's what I wrote down.
Jesse Lehner, thanks for coming out, man. That's a wrap.
Matt, appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for tuning into this week's episode. Would you make sure to please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel here, and please share this episode with somebody whose life it will make better. Hey, one more thing before you go, head over to my website, mattshoup.com, and make sure that you sign up for the free tools. I will drop you an email with a whole bunch of life, leadership, and business building resources that will make you better. And I'll also keep in touch with you with all of the events, experiences, and updates that I've got coming your way.